Organize Me Radio, episode 17, Organizing the Entire House. I'm Naeemah Ford Goldson. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Organize Me Radio. Today's guest is Neitra Rose, owner of Organizing Lifestyles in Houston, Texas. Welcome, Neitra.
Hey, Naeemah, welcome. I'm excited to be here today.
I am so excited to have you and to learn a little bit more about your business.
Yes, me too. I'm excited to talk about it.
All right. Okay. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. How did you get your start in the organizing industry?
So my start began with, actually, I started the company as an event planning company. So I went to some friends and family because people's like, ask people, what you think you would be great at, right? So I was always great at like planning trips, planning parties, all this stuff. And so people are like, you should be an event planner. And this is way back in like 2007. So it wasn't no hoarding shows, wasn't organizers on TV, any of that.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'll try it. And then I found out that me and brides don't really get along.
Uh-oh.
So I was like, yeah, no, that's not gonna work. They like way too stressful, and I just like to do my thing and get it done. And so I was like, that's not gonna work. And so then I happened to be visiting my cousin's now wife. And so I was like, oh girl, your closet is junky. Like you should organize that. And she was like, why don't you help me? So I was like, all right, fine. So I started helping her, and a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, well, maybe you could get paid to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay. So I went home, did some research. I found out about NAPO, which is the National Association of Professional Organizers. And then I went to a local meeting and I was like, oh my gosh, it is people that really do this. So, but everybody in my chapter was like married.
Okay.
And I was single at the time.
Okay.
So I was like, I don't know, can you really make money doing this? So I went and I signed up for the National Black MBAs. They had a entrepreneurship pitch thing that they used to do every year. And so you could pitch your business and then you could go on to the final competition. You could win like $10,000 to start your business. So I said, I'm gonna enter this because I want to see if people really are into this, right? Mm-hmm. So I joined the pitch competition. And when I say it was like crazy, people was like, oh my gosh, I need you like right now. I got 2 radio interviews after that. What? I got clients after that. I was like, okay. And then I went to conference for NAPO because I still had to make sure. Because you always want to see people kind of like you in the same situation. Because right. When you married to a doctor and a lawyer, listen, you got another income. When you single, right. You got another. So I need to know this can work. And so I went to conference and there was a lady who was single out of California, I think. And she specialized in moving. And she had made over $1 million in a year. I said, this is my kind of business right here. All right. And I think it was good too, because I got to see how different everybody was in the industry. So people focus on moving, people working with seniors. It was like the most creative industry that you could ever be in. So I was like, why not? So I did it. So, and it actually started during the recession. So okay. I had just got a new job, big income. I wanted to get everything. And then 6 months later, they were like, well, we're going to have to close the whole department. I was like, really?
Oh, no.
I said, well, go home or go hard. So I decided to go hard on my business. If it didn't work, I could always go back to corporate America.
Right.
So I said, well, let me see how this works. And it has worked out ever since. So definitely was a blessing in disguise.
I love that. I think it definitely takes a certain amount of bravery, to go ahead and push that entrepreneurial button. And like you said, if you don't have that support, it's a little scary to kind of just like jump out there. So kudos to you for doing it and not looking back, because you have a lot of good stuff on your website, your TV appearances and things like that. So
yeah, it's been a lot of hard work, but I've met some great people along the way. So I love it. I love it. And the reward that you get from the work that we do is impeccable. Like you cannot even explain it, how we help and change people's lives. So, it's so rewarding in that sense.
So tell me about your business. What do you specialize in?
So, organizing lifestyles, we specialize. One of our big thing is that we try to help clients use their spaces without them thinking that they need to buy everything. So I call that organizing backwards.
Okay.
So because people get excited, so they see the shows nowadays. They especially home edit that's out now. Love them to death, but everybody's buying products and they haven't even did the edit part.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
you edit? You haven't edited yet.
Hmm.
And that's the main part that people miss. So my big thing in my company is always to show people you have enough space for what you need. It's just that you have put too much stuff into the space. So that's a big thing for me in my business. Also, we work with a lot of people that just become overwhelmed. So not hoarders to a sense, but parents and families who have kids that have left and now they're like, what are we doing with all this stuff? And I don't have time. I don't know what to do with it. So that's kind of the jobs and the things that we like to specialize in and help people with and really show them how to maximize their space by not feeling like you got to go buy all of this stuff to make it look nice. Because you can use what you have. You can use the space you have. It's just a matter of how you're using the space.
Right. So, how do you show your clients to use the space in a different way? Because, like you said, the home edit, Marie
Mhm.
Kondo, all
Yeah.
those shows that are out, and they're like, "Well, the home edit told me to buy all these clear containers and organize it in rainbow order." So what do you tell them? How do you
So
bring it back down to reality?
and I gotta take you back to reality, and that's so funny because I was in the container store buying some stuff, and so this lady was in there getting some stuff. Of course, she just watched Netflix, and she's like, "Oh, I gotta get all this stuff from my pantry. I'm gonna spend about $1,000. So I'm gonna spend 60 now." And then I was like, the first thing you need to do is take out all the expired stuff out of your pantry. That's number
Right.
one. Because you're gonna clear up a whole lot of space because people forget that things expire from
Hmm.
seasonings to everything. And once they clear out the pantry, you'd be like, oh, I really do have, oh, yes, you have space. Now you can go and buy. She was like, oh, yeah, I haven't done that yet. I probably should. Yeah, you got to do the edit. Because even on home edit, they talk about edit first and
Hmm.
then, which is the purging process. So when I go in and I meet with clients at consultations, I always give them a vision based on kind of what they're telling me. So if they're like, oh, I want more space for my shoes and this, and I see that the top of your closet is halfway empty and you just got bags thrown up there, well, there's your space for your shoes right there. You don't
Right.
have room for your hats. You have enough wall space in here to hang hats. So that's kind of how I go about showing them you have to look at the space differently versus trying to just be like, okay, that's a shelf. I'm gonna just put something on. No, it doesn't work that way.
So you do a lot of big jobs. How do you navigate through like a whole home organization? Like I can only imagine, with some clients who, I mean, there are times where I walk into a client's house and it's like overwhelmed and it's like, okay, where am I going to start? Okay, I'll start here and I'll go around and what do you do? How do you navigate through that? What's your
So
process like?
So when we do our biggest job, so we have this one big job package that we offer where we come in for 2 days. It's my entire team of 6. We come in for 2 days. We clear out the whole house. We purge the entire house, every room, and the garage. And then it also includes a service that hauls off all the trash. And then we have a cleaning service that comes after we leave to clean up the house. So my background is in project management. So
Okay.
my thing is always having a plan to go.
Hmm.
Now, as an organizer, sometimes you go in with a plan, that plan don't go right.
Right.
So sometimes I walk in, I'm like, I don't know what the hell we gonna do today. I don't know how we gonna get through this, but we gonna. And then people will be like, you can do this in 2 days.
Yeah.
No, we can do this in 2 days. And I'm saying in my head, I don't know if we gonna make it for 2 days. But we always make it through. So my plan is always to, because my project management background, then I always take the areas that have the most stuff in them because those are spaces we could use for sorting later. So we go to the biggest areas like the garage, if it's the closet or if it's the kitchen, the ones that have the biggest mess in those areas, and we tackle those first. And then we start on one side of the room and we work our way around like in a circle or kind of parameter. So we don't go up, down. We start at the bottom and then kind of work our way around to get through the space, sort everything, have the client go through it, make decisions, and then they move to the next space. And then we kind of organize the next day. Because I always tell clients the organizing is the easy part. Like it is nothing for us to go in here, put this together, put some pretty labels, some bin. Like that's the easy part. you making decisions is the hard part.
Right.
Because that's a whole therapy session sometimes.
Oh, tell me about it.
So,
So,
I make them aware of that from the beginning. Don't look at it as us taking up time, because if you start having to tell us a story about everything you pull out of this cabinet, then we got to listen to the story. You can't be like, like pushing you along, or, we have to go along with what you're doing. Like, I had a client cry once over some plates because she had 5 dish sets. And so she just started crying. And she was like, well, I'm from New Orleans and my house got flooded. And then my auntie, this was the first set she bought me. And I'm just rubbing her back. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Okay, now make a decision, because it's only you and your 2 kids now. So, and then another plate set came from like a marriage and she was divorced. I was like, you just don't want, that's it. Like, let it go. Like, it's just a process. So we kind of get through those large spaces by definitely organizing and having a plan of how we're going to attack the space, which is usually just those individuals in there taking one section at a time and clearing it out and categorizing it, and then moving on to the next section so we can keep it moving.
So I think it is important for people to know, like you said, sometimes you're organizing a project and then your client wants to tell a story about, why they have 5 different place settings. Like, why do they have 5 different types of dishes, and I think it's definitely important for people to take that into account when they are getting organized. Like, that takes up time.
Yes.
That takes up money, because you're paying for our time to come in and to get the job done. So do you have, with your employees, are there certain employees that specialize in certain things? Like, is there a person who is maybe better at moving the client along? It sounds like you move the client along great. So is that like your kind of default position when you're working with multiple people?
So I'm like the default, right? So because I subcontract everybody that works for me. So I have organizers that work for me, and then I have what I call my helpers. So those are people who know my strategy, they know my process, but they're not organizers. So I can't really leave them in a space by themselves. So, because they have to be guided. So I have a mixture of those. So the organizers, yes, I have some that specialize in paper. So when I have to do an office or a lot of paper, there is one organizer that I'm going to call to come and help in those situations. Because paper takes time.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
a lot of time. Ooh, yeah, that paper. She enjoys it. So I'm like, all right, great. So I got a job for you. Let's go.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart, right? Like, you have to pack your patience if you're doing paper.
Yes, exactly. You have to have the patience. She loves offices. She loves paper, so I let her do it. And then I have another organizer that contracts for me, and she loves closets. So, she can go in a closet, she can do her thing. And then if the client is having issues, then they'll say, Neitra, I need you to come in here. So then I'll go in there, because I'm more of like okay, come on, you got to go. And they'll be like, I can't talk to them like that. I'll be like, that's okay, I can.
You got this.
I got this. No, you got to let that go today. So that's kind of where I come in and kind of like more the enforcer and kind of help out and just make sure that things are moving along, consistently and things of that nature. So I have another organizer. She loves, like me, I love garages. Garage is my favorite place in the house. And so she likes garages too. So her and one of my helpers, they actually can get through a garage in like no time. I mean, like, they start clearing it out and I'm like, dang, y'all done already? Like, what? So I'm like the Tasmanian devil of the garage. So they do have some specialties that they do prefer to do. So I try to make sure that they're in those areas that they do like, because then they'll enjoy the work more. And then I just kind of come in and help where needed and fill in and, help the client kind of get through the process.
So have you ever had a client who is just resistant, like after you start the process and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, no, I don't want to do this anymore, or they feel like they're not seeing the results quick enough? Because you know how sometimes it gets a little bit messy before it gets calm and everything gets back in your place. Have you ever had any clients that are just a little like, I don't know about this, you gotta go?
Yeah, right. So I'll tell you about this one client. He is actually a hoot. Like, he is probably on the borderline of hoarding. So his wife had hired 2 organizers prior to me. And she was like, Neitra, it didn't work. So we're going to try it out. So I tried it out. So he's like one of those people who try to test you too. So we're like going through stuff, and he's like, no, he's like, it's in a bin already. I was like, but you still don't need 100 batteries in a bin. Like, it doesn't,
right.
like, I don't like, no. And he's like, no, we're going to keep that. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let this go. So then I get into my negotiation kind of with those type of people. All right. And then I go back to the consultation when they tell me, you know, what their goals were. So your goal is to actually have a workbench in this garage and to do some work and put a car in here. We're not going to get there if you continually want to keep all this stuff. So we got to let some stuff go so we can make space for the things that you really want. So I start reminding them of what they already told me. And usually they're kind of come along. So it's really funny because he really does not like to get rid of stuff, but he ends up getting rid of it. Okay. And then he gives me the hardest time ever. And then after we're done, he's like, oh, Neitra, that was a great session. And he calls his friends and he's like, I have this great organizer you should use. Like, you know, you do not want to be like them people on Hoarders. Like, it is so hilarious. I'm like, you give me the hardest time ever. So, you know, I think it's just a matter of listening to them, but then still kind of doing that negotiation and then reminding them of what their goals are. Because what are your goals? Because what am I here for? If you're not gonna let me do my job. You know,
I wonder if he was just trying to make sure you were the real deal because they had two other organizers who, you know,
he totally
didn't mesh well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing with our industry. You gotta be, you know, the client is somebody that has to really, you know, be somebody that likes you and that like fits your personality and that type of thing. Because every client is not going to be your client. And at some point in this industry, you have to realize that and be okay with that. And it's totally cool. Because some people, I'm like, I don't know if we really, I don't know. Yeah. Like at the consultation, I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know if this gonna work. Like I could tell by the questions I'm asking you that nothing I say you gonna like. Like I don't know. So, and when they don't call back, I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. And that's the good thing about our industry growing. It's, you know, you'll find an organizer, like if someone's looking for an organizer, you will find someone that fits with your personality.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes. Your personality, what it is you want to do. Like, I'm like, my clients are my clients. And that's what I love about our industry, that it's not a competitive industry. Like, we don't look at each other as each other's competitors. We help each other. More than other organizers have referred me business. One client that one of the organizers didn't want early on because she was like, I can't work with him. So he was like, he was an older guy, stayed by himself, but he was autistic. Okay. And so she was like, I can't because he has so much porn and stuff there. And so I was like, all right, fine, cool, no worries, I'll go in. So I always harass her about this. And I'm like, remember that client I took for you that one time? And so me and him got along really well. Yeah. But he was very strategic on how he wanted to go through the process. So it was, like he had to be sitting right in front of me. He had to touch every single thing that I touched. And then he had to be the one to let it go. Right. So it couldn't be me going through the paper. Like he had this stack of newspapers. He had to go through the newspapers himself. He had to flip through them. And, you know, she was like, I can't do it. So, but me and him had a good time. We meshed. It was cool.
That's great because, you know, it is with a lot of clients too, you have to take your time. And like you said, you know, different personalities mesh. And, you know, for someone like him, especially someone being on the spectrum, then you definitely have to take your time. You can't just, you know, go in and just touch their stuff and say, you're getting rid of this. Right. Know? Yeah. Because you don't know like what kind of, you know, meltdown they could possibly have. Right. So it's just, you know, letting go gently, which I think you clearly did for him. So
yeah. And you'll get that. You know, you have those who are, you know, I had one client once, she was like, shit, Neitra, no, I'm not getting rid of that. I was like, okay, cool. All right. I'm back off now. All right. And then we went through, but she was like, okay, but I will get rid of this. I was like, okay, that works for me. Like, let's just get through it. But you know, you gotta let go of some of this stuff in order to make space for the things that you really want. You know what I mean? So
I love that. So what can you tell me, what is the biggest job you've ever had? Like, I don't know if it's a big house, like a lot of square footage, and how long did it take you?
So we had one of our big 2-day jobs. And so when I went in, I said, you know what, this is probably going to be 4 days. Because it was an older couple. They had been in their house for like 30 some years. Their kids were adults now. And kids had moved to San Antonio and they were going to sell their house. So they were looking to sell, pack it up, and then move to San Antonio. They had bought a house closer to their kids because they're getting older now. And so the wife was like, when I did the consultation, she was like sitting on the couch. And so she was like, yeah, I got some stuff. The dining room, you could not walk in. So she was like a collector of, I forgot the name of it, but some type of ornaments or something. So it's literally like she would order it, leaving it, like she never even took it out of the box. So the whole dining room, you couldn't even walk in. It was full of those boxes. And so it was stuff everywhere. They had about 8 cats.
Wow. I've been there where,
Yeah.
where, clients have had a lot of cats. So I understand.
Yes. So I was like, And so the husband was kind of like, yeah, we really need to get rid of this. We need to do this. And so the wife was kind of like the resistant one. And the husband, I could tell, was more like, I want to do this, but I don't know, because I know my wife wants to keep it, kind of thing. So you kind of assess these things when you're with people. So to me, that was like the big, because I was like, how are we going to approach this? So what I did was I split them up. So I said, hey, do you mind if your husband makes all the decisions for the kitchen, the laundry, and the garage? She said, whatever he wants to do in there, he can do it. And when I say he was as happy as a cat, he was getting rid of all kind of stuff. And
That's
so we
smart.
were able to clear that
That's
all out. Yeah.
That's a smart strategy. I'll have to use that. I've never done that, but that's smart.
Yes, you got to split them up sometimes. And so she was like, all right, I'll make the decisions in here, in this space, and this will be, what I decide on. And if it was anything he questioned, then we would just take it to the wife, which were probably like 5 things. Everything else, he was like, go, go, go. So we would go in there, we would take her, because she wouldn't move. She wouldn't come to the spaces we were working in. So we had to bring everything out of all the other spaces, like the dining room, to the living room for her to look at. I was like, you're going to be here all day. We ain't going to never leave. And then cats start popping out of places. We had never seen the cats before.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we're not going to get through this. And we ended up finishing the house in 3 days.
Okay.
So, and that worked, and they were so ecstatic, and they had bought a pod for us to put all the stuff in. So we organized all the stuff in the pod so they could move. And she was like as giddy as, she was so excited about the process and really happy. The husband, you could tell like a weight was like lifted off his shoulder. Like he went to the master bedroom and started pulling out stuff. He was like, this can go, it can go. Like he was just excited to be able to make those decisions and let it go. So to me, that was like one of the hardest ones, because I wasn't sure how we were going to get through that, but we made it through. So to this day, that was like the biggest job ever. Biggest, yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite products? Like, do you have go-to products after you do these, these big house cleanouts? Do you have any go-to products that you use for your clients or that you recommend for them to get?
So I always recommend I love clear bins. I always have, because you can see what you have. I always make it a point to ask customers though, when I meet with them, do you prefer visible or do you prefer hidden, containers? Because some people do want the stuff behind in a container that they can't see, but they know what's in the container. So I always make it a point to ask them that. I prefer clear because I think people need to see what they have. So there are certain things that I love. The clear shoe boxes at the Container Store is one of my favorite, because you can use them in so many different spaces in the house, from the bathroom to the pantry to the kitchen to cabinets. So they're multi-use. Again, things that regular people don't think of. Like
right.
Because it's in the closet section doesn't mean it has to be used in the closet.
Right.
So that's where we come in. So I love those containers. Magazine holders, I like those too, because I use those in different spaces as well. So my big thing when it comes to products is I love things that are multifunctional. So products that I can purchase and I can use it in a number of different ways. So that's my biggest go-to type of products. When I look for products, when I go to buy something, it's always like, how can we use this in different ways? I'm a big multifunctional type of organizer where I love those type of products. Like I just got some containers from Container Store, the Home Edits containers for the refrigerator. Mm-hmm. And we use those to organize the medicine cabinet.
Okay.
So, I'm all about, how can we use this in a different way? What can we do different about it? Of course, I love the felt hangers. That's my favorite go-to for the closet. I'm like,
Mine too.
Yeah. And I love the ones at Bed Bath & Beyond. And the reason, because they're multifunctional. You get a box of 50, you can use your coupon, and the hanger has a part for your scarf or your belt, and they actually have hooks on them. So they have 3 different things. You can use it for the shirt and the pants, one hanger. So you don't have to buy all these different type of hangers. So I always go to Bed and Bath for my felt hangers because they're multifunctional hangers.
That's a good tip because I just get mine from the Container Store. So let me
Yeah.
head on over to Bed Bath and Beyond now.
Yeah. Go to Bed and Bath. And then Bed and Bath has the different colors. So I've done, cream, I've done gray, I've done black, but the hangers are all, for pants and for shirts. And it has those extra little compartments on that one hanger that you can do different stuff with. So yeah, Bed and Bath is definitely the place to be. Yes.
So Neitra, what has been your greatest achievement as a professional organizer?
I would say my greatest achievement would be mentoring new organizers and seeing their businesses grow. So, because I know when I first started, there wasn't a whole bunch of organizers who were willing to, give advice, and maybe because I just didn't meet the ones I needed to.
Right.
But, me and a small group of other women all started at the same time, and we're all still really good friends today. We actually meet every other week. And so those are like my go-to. Like, we share advice, we share documents, all that kind of stuff. So for me, when somebody calls me and says, hey, I'm looking at being an organizer, like, I don't mind giving them information and tips and, what to do when you start your business, things like, I just give that for free because I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to create and find your own way, but seeing them succeed in the industry, really do well in the industry, I think is one of the biggest things for me, because I love to give back. And that's my way of giving back. And people are like, you should charge if you're going to be a mentor. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I don't even want to come up with another business plan for that. Like, I just, like, here you go. Here's the information. Call me if you need something else, So, and they fly away and they do great, or either, they can always reach out to me for advice or anything. And I'm totally okay with that. It's not something I'm doing with them on, weekly basis here. So, but I think for me, that's like the biggest accomplishment, to be able to be in a position to even help other organizers and give them advice.
I love that. I love it, love it, love it. So Neitra, tell everyone how they can find out more information about you.
So of course, they can always find me on my website, organizinglifestyles.com. Find me on Instagram, the Queen of Organizing, or Facebook, Organizing Lifestyles as well. So you can always reach out to me in any of those 3 platforms to try to communicate, connect with me. I'm going to do better with posting on social media, but I'm getting there.
I understand. I'm the same way with social media. We're trying.
We're trying. We're going to get there. I'm going to get those after pictures to you. People are like, oh, I'll be like, I do a video of like something I bought in the store, and they're like, we want to see the after. And I'm like, crap, but I don't go back to the client for like another week, and then I forget, and I'm like, oh,
yeah. I'm right there with you. I completely understand. Well, Neitra, thank you so much. It has been so fun having you on, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us on Organize Me Radio.
Yes, thank you for having me. It has been a joy. I have totally enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Organize Me Radio. Make sure to tune in next time for an all-new episode. Thank you so much for joining me today, and make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. And remember, get organized, go further. You're listening to Organize Me Radio. I'm Naeemah Ford Goldson.